we through our radios can hit and access other things with. They're sharing the same as in DMR. It's a time slot issue, 2 time slots, 2 channels. You take 1 second, half a second is used on one channel, half is the other, and it alternates. That's kind of a little snapshot for what I think about it. I've got a brief little presentation, and then pretty much we'll pass, I'll pass the radio around, pass it around, and look at it. This is one I've got. This is a Connect system. There's others around. Hands-on questions. Let's play with them as it goes. The PRN network, which this website is what I've got up, and it's going to be hard to see, so you may want to come closer. We are on this network. Our repeaters on this network. It has specific channels, group of channels that you can access through it worldwide, North America, Mexico, and then outside, and then local, which is just as you think, and then North Carolina, parts of Virginia, parts of West Virginia, and parts of South Carolina. That's actually the PRN network. 70-some repeaters. If you're on the PRN channel and you key it up, you're hitting all of them. And so there's a lot of activity, as you can imagine. It's a little bit different protocol in terms of using. You have to do a lot of listening before you key up, and so that you don't walk on somebody. But they're hams, they come up, they go through with it, and you pick up and you talk to them just like you normally do. But I guess the key thing I saw was you wait to see if anybody's on there. And then there are times, out of 73 repeaters, you don't hear anybody, which is quite unusual, but it does go. There are nets and stuff on from what I've heard, but I haven't heard them yet. So, but this website, which is, I've got it on the bottom of the flyer, ncprn.net, is a good one to go to get a lot of information about it, about what you access when you access here for it. On getting started, before you can transmit on the system, which is what we're on, you have to get a radio ID. Now this ID is a digital ID for you. You can use it on, if you've got 3 or 4 radios, you can use it on the 3 or 4 radios. It's just that when you key the radio, the system says, okay, this is XYZ, I know who he is, and you've logged in.
One at a time.
Yeah, you only use one at a time. Hope you can't talk on 2 at a time.
Well, if your wife grabs one, you grab
Oh, yeah.
one, but only one can be operating at a time.
Some get 2 or 3 of these. Right now, there's over 30,000 on them. Numbers out, which is kind of like users. That's the second website number, the DMR-MARC. It's a national, worldwide. They're not regulatory. They're just, I don't guess. I really don't know. But you go to them, you get a number. That number becomes what you then can access the system, and as it goes, it stays with you all along. Your call signs associated with it, those particular things. So as it says here, while you order your radio, you wait, you go online, and you register to get your number, and it took, for me it was 3 or 4 days. I think sometimes it's instantaneous, but the website is pretty self-explanatory. You got it's got repeater owners, and it's got users. Make sure you get on the users. I think I've got that. Here's the website. I do have that you look at. You can see when you pull up the website, up at the top right, it says contact us. So that's where you click to go contact us. Then you go to this site, and you'll see down there, you can't really see it, I'm sorry, but I tried to get it. It says, I'd like a user ID for my radio. That's what you click on, and then you go to this, and you can see you got the user, repeater registration. User section is at the top, repeaters at the bottom, so you're in that top section. I'll back up again, this kind of gives you an idea. This is the second website number I have on there, the DMR-MARC. Any questions at this point?
Yes. One question.
Right, ladies.
He said something about like husband and wife. Does that mean that the husband can one's in North Carolina, one's in South Carolina or something, right? I mean,
Well, think of it like your call sign. You only have a unique call sign.
right,
You could have two numbers for yourself, two
Okay.
separate numbers.
but, okay,
And he would have to have, you'd have to have a number, he would have a number.
Right.
Or if you were talking to each other, both of that, they're two different numbers. So you could have two numbers associated with your call sign. So if he keys up, your call sign's going through it, you key up, your call sign's going through it. It is two separate numbers.
okay, but, so both numbers can be talking to each other.
Right.
I mean, okay.
You
all right,
just
that's
can't
what-
have one number on two radios, and the two radios talking to each other, from what I understand.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That was fine.
And
Ma'am?
it doesn't cost anything to get the numbers.
Right, but I was just thinking, we have 3 radios, and sometimes we swap out on different vehicles, and, one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, if he's in Georgia at his sister's, and I have the wrong radio, that maybe he has his number, and he has his number, and,
Never be an issue.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I just didn't
Yeah.
know what they were meaning by, what y'all were meaning by having the same number.
The number's important because the number is a
It
quasi.
just has to be registered.
It's a quasi registration for the radio.
Right, it doesn't really matter on talking to somebody, it just means that you can talk.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Ma'am,
gonna-
oh, I'm sorry.
The only thing it'll do, whatever radio you're on, it broadcasts the call letters or the ID number of that particular radio that you have on there. Doesn't make any difference
Okay.
who uses it.
Okay, all right,
Gotta be licensed, yeah.
right.
Ma'am,
I'm not sure what my question is, but,
go ahead, ask, that's what this is about.
one, what's PRN stand for?
I don't know.
Private radio network.
Pro Racing Network?
Private radio,
I think it's private.
Piedmont, I
No,
think,
but
isn't it?
NASCAR uses PRN
Yeah.
for some kind of radio network too.
Right,
but-
yeah, they got-
But we talked about that, like, earlier in the year or something, and somebody said, nobody seems to know what PRN stands for.
I think it's Piedmont.
Could be. It's a great, it was a group of people who started the network and is organizing.
Okay.
It-
Private radio network.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Not yet.
Keith, whoever sent that email, I think it was Joe, to get that number, I did it, and it was like, easy. And I got my number, I don't have no radio.
Right.
So
Now,
you have to have a PRN radio?
you have to have a digital radio.
A digital radio?
PRN is just a network. There's several networks all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah, I have, okay.
PRN is the one that serves our area.
All right, I'll check to see if I got a digital radio.
Any other questions before we go ahead? folks?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I got one. I downloaded a PDF on the DMR and I've emailed it to everybody on the list.
Right.
And the code plug that you download from PRN doesn't have Moorhead yet. I got mine from Joe.
Yeah, I got that.
When does the Moorhead
I don't know.
get into the PRN plugin?
You might look at Newport.
I'll get to the code plugs as one of the things. Okay, so, you got your number, you got your radio, you're ready to get started. As Wally was saying, it's hard to see this, but, code plug, your radio is programming for your radio, and the PRN network has got all of the information on their site to load into the radio for all, basically, for all of their repeaters. So you go to one site, put it in. So little, the programming into it is unique to the radio, use a different software. Does the Hytera software come with it to load it?
Yes.
So, Connect System sends it, so it's online, you go download it. So every radio, instead of having on the VHF, UHF, you have to go and buy that RST program to load, if you want to store something and load them all at once, keep from having to program each channel. These radios, they're accessible, get it, you grab it, you download whichever code plug you want. These are all Motorola's. There's 3 for the Connect system radios, 700 and 750 are HTs, 800 is mobile. There's one for the Carteret and there's one for the Carteret. And they have, as I said, the repeaters for the repeaters, and if you go on, you gotta do a lot of looking on the web. But you get your radio, get your number, get your program on, hit that, open up one of those and save it and load it onto your radio, and you're ready to go. As Wally said, there's a lot of work involved in updating these code plugs, and there's not a Morehead City on the Connect system. I don't know about the Carteret. Was it on the Carteret?
No, but what you can do, I set up Robert Bennett
Yeah.
last week, and rather than going to this code plug, what I did was we went over to his house. He loaded up the software on his computer. I downloaded my radio, which has the
Right.
Morehead City stuff on it, onto his computer, and then uploaded it onto his radio. So if you want to have the Morehead City information on your radio, get a hold of somebody that's got the same radio, download it and upload it onto your radio, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
As opposed to pulling it.
Same thing with the Connect systems. 2 things you have to change. It's got a screen. You go in, you change your call sign. You go in and change and put in the correct number. Everything else will load right up once you change those 2. So I mean, I can do the Connect system. Who else has got Connect? Right. John, Dave, and myself. You know, Lehman's got.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm wondering what the club so far between Hytera and Connect System, who's got what and why you got a difference? Is that a personal?
What? Hot Terror?
Hytera, $140.
Connect systems is $230.
It's 125 now.
$125 now.
There's a big difference though in the number of channels they'll hold.
Yeah.
That'll hold 1,000.
Contacts.
1,000 contacts. These will hold 6,000.
And you have what do you have?
The whole 56,000
56.
Which one holds 56?
And then
connects.
if you go to the Motorola, you got in here, you got what are called zones. So Morehead City is a zone, Jacksonville is a zone, Williamston is
Yeah, I
a
got
zone.
that. I got that.
Gonna get into all that, but the other big difference is that the Motorola radios roam. Okay, that is when you go out there, it transfers automatically to the most powerful zone.
Right.
Whereas these guys, you have to do it manually. So if you want to roam, you pay an extra $200. And you get an M on the radio too.
Yes,
The
sir.
basic difference between the radios is one's holding more connects, more contacts than the other, right?
Yeah.
So they're all basically the same operating way.
Basically, yeah. You know, I mean, if you do a lot of traveling, you know, the thing I found was that once you load up all the contacts, like I said, it was about 30,000. So no matter who comes on, unless they're real new, their call sign will pop up on your screen. Otherwise, you just get a number. Their call sign and name pops up. And otherwise, you just get the 5 or 6 digit number.
I just went up to Delaware to visit my new great grandbaby.
Okay.
And I hit every repeater between here and there except the Hosky. It was just a little bit too far off of 17. I went straight up 17 and pretty much talked. I mean, they're not continuous. There may be some gaps, but I hit every one of them except the Hosky.
And did you have to do something to pick those up?
Yeah, you may have this already.
No, I don't have that. Go ahead.
When you go into the zones, once you get these code plugs added in, it lists all of the repeaters. And you, in this particular radio, you hit the 0, and then you use the arrow, and they're not in any particular order. That's the only thing that I don't like about it, because they're depending on what PRN they're in groups. But you scan through until you find the repeater you're going to come to. And I had looked at a map before I left, and I knew which ones were up along the road. So my wife was sitting in the car and she just scanned to whatever one was coming up, and then we just left the radio on. And you can tell whether you're hitting it just by hitting the button. If you hit the button and you hear a beep, you're hitting the repeater. And then you can put out a call. Yeah, there you go. And you can put out just KK4ADX, Moorhead City traveling or something like that. And,
Yeah.
somebody will come back to you.
Now,
He
the
was
map
on-
with the repeaters on the internet?
No, the repeaters were on, he was still on PRN network.
Oh, okay.
He was
Yeah.
still traveling in. There, you know, once you get out of their footprint, there's another one. And what that is or where they are, I don't know.
I think Ocean City, there's something USA, and I think that's what
Okay.
network they were on, but yeah, it's not difficult. You just have to know what you're close to.
I'm gonna get through this and then, you know, cause some people may want to leave and then we can have a round robin. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have the Motorola that was set up by Scott for us, to borrow. And, let me see, besides all the chats, I think there's a TAC 310, which I'm not quite sure about.
Yeah.
But, the DCI Bridge 2 is what it says on my screen.
Yep.
And I went on that yesterday, a couple of times before that, but yesterday, I spoke to a man in Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Right.
On the bridge.
Yeah,
That's the one.
I'm coming to those.
Oh, okay, I thought you were- Sorry.
Jumping back, so then you got your radio, you got your number, it's programmed up, now what do you want to do? Talk groups, is like a channel on the PRN system. If you got a radio in one talk group, you will not hear a user on another. There's 16, basically, you rotate the dial, you got 16 channels, for it. The DMR, as I said before, has 2 time slots. We're on one slot, the other slot is you have to select it, and basically, as Janice says, you flip over to that particular channel, and you key it, it tells the repeater to flip over to that other time slot, which I'm equating it to, repeater has 2 channels, 2 time slots. In my mind, that's how it goes. There is access that we can set up on another channel that is completely separate from everything, and nobody hears it. If they've got the code plug, only those specific people, I think, who have it programmed in could use it for, say, an event that we have. So we've got a local, on the continuing, I highlighted a few things on here, and these are, I'm sorry, it's hard to read these, but, time slot 1 utilizes several on-demand groups, depending on which repeater you're on. On-demand means that by default, the link is not active. Here again, the only one active is PRN or local, unless you key it up. You can select it though. If you want to make it active, you change your radio to the talk group and key up to get the talk permanent tone, then release it and listen. It's important to understand, as Janice said, the DCI bridge or the TAC 310 or TAC 1, these are all talk groups that aren't on all the time. You have to go over to them, key it, and listen. Now, if you're coming in on a conversation, somebody may be talking, you won't hear them until they unkey and the other person keys up. Then you'll hear it. That's why it's important when you key on the sections besides the PRN or local, you need to just listen until to make sure nobody's on it. Yes?
One point that I'd like to make that kind of threw me, because I can think my radio wasn't working. If you're looking for squelch tails, hisses, clicks, and whatnot, they eat there.
Yeah. I mean, you key it and you think, there's nothing going on here, but just keep listening.
I thought my radio wasn't working. That's why I called you in a panic that other night. I said,
The other key thing about these on-demand talk groups is what we call them, is that you go over to the repeater, DCI bridge, you key it and you listen, nothing happens, you never key it again, the repeater will drop it out automatically in 15 minutes. There is an option that we can go in, it's called Clear Talk Group, If you keyed it and you don't hear anybody, you can flip over to that and key it again, and it'll drop the repeater off less than 15 minutes, selectable. It doesn't hurt anything, I guess, if you want to go back. I don't know about switching from one on-demand to the next on-demand. That I'm not sure of. But, that's where the clear time slot option comes in. If you want, as Janice says, she was talking to somebody up overseas, if you got somebody who's off out of the network and you want to talk to them, set up a time. Tell them, so, well, look, get on this at 8 o'clock, I'll get on it and I'll make a call, because you got the kid, make sure nobody's on it, then you put your call out to the people, and hopefully they're on it. Yeah, John?
That, clear the channel, if you don't do that, it keeps the, frequency tied up. That's why they want you to clear the channel when you're done.
But it keeps it tied up on our
Keeps it-
repeater.
Yeah, for 15 minutes.
That's right.
So if you clear it, and somebody else wants to use it, they can use it.
That's
what
correct.
it's for.
That's correct. And anybody can clear it, keep that, anybody can clear it, but if you flip over to the DCI or the TAC 310 or TAC 1, and you hear somebody talking on it, know that somebody locally has keyed it and is doing something. I think I'm correct in that. So don't just go and say, okay, well, nobody's using it, because they are, and hit your clear talk so that you can go to another channel. Courteous, just be courteous and just wait till the time's out, or you may hear somebody local, I don't know.
There's another feature that's available to you here that allows you to determine whether somebody is on the network or not. And
Oh, yeah, I got it, I'm coming.
You got last heard?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit about that. Now we get to what Janice was talking about, inter-network groups. These are the on-demand groups on our radios. It's called TAC 1. It key repeaters all over the entire world. It should be used to talk to stations outside of the PRN network, U.S., Canada, Mexico. That's TAC 1. I got it highlighted on there. TAC 310 is U.S., Canada, Mexico's, and same type thing. I don't know what the difference is in them. They're both on demand. The DCI bridge, which is, you'll hear a lot of people talking about the randomizer, it's one and the same for us. But the DCI is more widespread and encompasses more of the networks. I got most of this stuff off of the PRN or website, and also the DMR website. So those are the three. If you want to talk wider or listen wider, you have to go up, flip over to it, key it, and then just listen. Yes?
The difference, you said you didn't know the difference. The
Yeah.
difference is one's supposed to be used for Mexico, Canada, US, and the other one's worldwide.
We got, is that TAC 1?
I don't remember.
310.
310 is.
U.S. Canada.
Yeah.
They both say U.S. Canada.
Yeah, but the one says,
TAC 1 says outside U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
yeah.
Okay.
And then 310
And also outside, yeah, within these countries, okay. TAC 310 is within Mexico, TAC 1 is outside, DCI is outside. It's confusing, trust me.
It is.
DCI and TAC 1.
Huh?
There must be some difference between.
Yeah,
TAC 1
yeah,
and
and
DCI, but I don't.
this is what they say, but when you're on the radio listening,
Yeah, okay.
there's a few different accents, is about all I can do.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So here again, as we keep listening through it. Couple of questions. I'm used to channels being individual frequencies, so what are talk groups and zones? Channels and talk groups can be thought of as the same. The word talk group will usually be heard in a commercial and public safety environment. When you turn the channel knob on the top of your radio, and let's say, for instance, the screen changes from Raleigh PRN to Raleigh NA, you are simply changing the talk group that your radio is trying to talk to or listen to. You're still on the same frequency, which is sometimes why we can't think of channels as frequencies in the digital world. But when you're turning the knob, you're just telling the radio to only listen for the talk of other users in the same group, therefore the same talk group. Art knows probably more about Motorola than anybody sitting here, but,
Motorola puts a different name on everything.
Yeah.
It's just their way.
but, like for instance, our repeater, you've got all the different talk groups on it. You're still on the same repeater. It's just you're accessing different people who may be on the side talking in a different aspect. Zones, on the other hand, are memory banks. In the generic code plugs, which is what I showed you there, on the website, we've set up each repeater to be a separate zone. In other words, our repeater is a zone. There's no reason you shouldn't place 3 repeaters in the same zone, for example, other than you may be physically limited to 16 channels per zone, or 16 talk groups, so to speak. Some people create a travel zone and place all the PRN talk groups for each repeater in that zone, or they just have to turn the knob and move to the next repeater in their route. That's where we get about selecting whatever zone. It's kind of like you flip over to select a repeater, you move out, you go to Jacksonville, you move over to Jacksonville, and you're on it, and you've got channels on that you can access as well. It is confusing.
It is.
It is. Yes, sir.
I do a lot of traveling. Is it possible through this network to target back to a Morehead City?
Oh, yeah. I keep mine on PRN most of the time. And there'll be people in Charleston talking to people in Virginia, and you can just geek on and talk to them as you go.
What about like if I'm in California? Can I somehow talk?
I haven't got experience with that, but it's possible.
1-to-1.
1-to-1.
One repeater to one repeater, is that possible?
You can do that, but you can also do, I don't know about the other. I do know you can do that, Art.
Doesn't the chat room serve that functionality? Can't you move, talking from 2 different repeaters and move the conversation to a
I think the DCI
chat room?
bridge and the TAC 310 may be 1-to-1. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Yes,
Can you do simplex without a repeater?
you
Yes.
can.
And you can also,
And we've got local, which is just here
But with a repeater?
with the repeater.
you can also do an analog repeater.
Yeah, they do have. So talking outside the group, I haven't done it. Has anybody done it? Talking other than Janice, you were over to
Well,
England?
yeah, and also in San Diego, you need to do that. That was also on the bridge, the DCI bridge.
Yeah.
At San Diego yesterday too. Actually, San Diego was talking to Belfast before I got on, so.
I think when you go to the DCI bridge or the TAC 310 or TAC 31, that is a wider network.
Yeah.
And it's just like jumping on the PRN, which is 3 or 4 states. When you jump on it, you're wider, and you can talk to any repeater in that. If somebody's flipped over to that from their repeater, so you could do more. But you can also do what Art said, which is called, a lot of them flip over to a chat 1 or chat 2, which in that case, let's say for instance, we talk to Scott in Jacksonville, and it's on the PRN network. And I just want to carry on the conversation, not tie up the whole network. We'll flip over to chat 1 or 2, and then just those 2 repeaters are linked, as Art was referring to. And they'll stay linked until the parties quit talking. Then you go back to the whole network. So you can go repeater to repeater, you can go network wide, and then you can go local. Just like using Bob's repeater.
To further answer his question, Robert McNeil is in Virginia this week.
Yeah.
He just randomly keyed up the Virginia repeater up there where he's at, and just identified itself. And I went right back to him, just like he was local.
Yeah. Because he's on the PRN network.
It was on the PRN.
I like the idea if you're over, like on the West Coast, if you're able to target the repeater here, and then you can go to another chat.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not
the
being
key,
targeted.
what I've heard on it, the key thing is that whoever you want to talk to, make sure they're on the same, either the bridge or DCI.
And at what time you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost have to set up a schedule.
That's
You do, for
I got
outside.
a friend in
name, and that's what we do, set up a schedule to talk.
Okay. This is what Pete was referring to. You can go online and pull up, and you can actually see who is on what aspect when they key it up. This thing keeps rolling. You look at it, it'll be rolling. And you can see how it is. Like here's Lee, Morehead City. He took a snapshot then. He was on our repeater before YMI, and he was on the PRN network talking to somebody. You got King. Here's the brand master for us is DCI Bridge. So you can see it's that website. I didn't put it on there, but that website is,
It's ncprn.org, last heard.
yeah. If you go back to their website, the PRN website, this one here says last heard. You click on that, it'll bring up that other aspect, and you can just, it's interesting to sit there and watch it roll.
It gives you a signal report, which is pretty cool.
That's correct. That is the, look, that's this last column. So, all right, Josh, since you brought it up, tell us what it is.
Really blurry from back here.
All right, this is a minus 127 decibels. This is minus 95. So you can kind of
Those negatives are bigger, yeah.
make it blurry. It's still out there. So,
Which did you say was better, the bigger or the smaller?
bigger.
The more positive, yeah.
More positive.
Operating, there's a little difference, there is a little bit of different lingo on DMR. Most people, when you hear it, they give a little bit more information than your call sign and your name. They come on and say, this is, I'm monitoring whichever repeater or network they're on. Our case, what you typically hear is, we'll call on mobile, on Morehead PRN. That tells somebody off somewhere else, and they may want to call and see how things are in Morehead. So it's a little bit different. You know, N5 ITU, this is W9JW on North America network. That's what it is. So it's just, the rest of it, pretty much, you operate like you're saying. It's just, like anything, you listen, then you say, okay, I think I can do this. That's all I got. For it, just a quick little guy, just a recap, let me recap first, Willie, Wally. You know, you decide you want to do DMR, read, I'd go to the websites I've listed and read first. Decide what radio you want to buy, get your radio, while you're waiting, get your number, and then get somebody to program your radio for you, and then just start listening. Yeah, John.
Just one thing, this happened to me this week. I had my radio on, I forgot all about it, ran the battery down, put another battery in it, it wouldn't come back. I fooled around with it, I finally had to take the old battery that went dead, put it in the charger, and let it sit there for a while, and luckily everything came back.
Oh.
So, watch your radio. You know, you turn it on, you're listening, you walk away, you forget all about it.
I've done that in mine, and all I did was flip the new battery in, it came right back.
This was a
Same
day
here.
later.
Huh?
It was a day later, it was really dead.
No, I mean, I've left mine on several days.
Yeah. This is what happened to mine.
Yeah.
It come back. And while I'm talking about batteries,
You have two different brands, or?
no,
Let's
connect.
connect.
We bought new cell phones this week, and one of the problems was my wife's was losing the charge, and the radio's on. Anyways, they told us at Best Buy, don't keep your cell phone plugged in all the time.
Right.
It does something to the batteries. Just a heads up.
Wish I could go like that.
Charge it, unplug it.
Like I have.
Yeah. And they say if it's a lithium ion, you're better off to run it down about 25% for long-term storage, as opposed to keeping it fully charged and it'd store it for a year or two.
We bought one of those things that you just set
Yeah.
the cell phone on, it charges and it shuts off.
Wally,
Do you want to demonstrate the echo test?
I'll let Pete
Do it
demonstrate.
right here. So you got a little thing here called echo test on this thing. So if you want to check your radio out, you go to the echo test and you just go in here and you say, "Good morning, this is W3ENK echo test on the Morehead City PRN."
Oh, it was in stereo.
Good morning, this is W3ENK echo test on the Morehead City PRN.
And that shows up on the computer too. Everybody sees you doing that.
Steve, is that done locally, or is that gotta go up the network?
That's local.
and come
No,
back?
that's local. It's just checking the repeater, checking your connection to the repeater.
That's, the reason I'm asking is the internet connection you're using, we need to know if it's down, because that affects the Morehead Police Department.
Okay,
They're on the same internet connection. So like, the echo test, does that go to a server somewhere and come back?
no,
Is that a feature?
on the repeater, just the repeater, yeah. Well, I don't know now, it is,
No, I think it just goes to the repeater. It doesn't go.
I don't know.
I don't know, they have hard questions.
That is good, because it does show up on the computer, on the scrolling
It
screen
does.
that you accessed it.
You know, I've got them.
I don't see it here.
Since he made it, nothing showed up yet.
I don't see it here on the local test. I don't see it on.
Okay. We'll know,
It shows-
because most office lists are just
It
like
makes
flipped over on
sense to
PRN.
me, it shows up on the internet, it went over the internet.
Yeah, he's looking at it.
Other questions, there's two formats, there's the Motorola and the Hysteria, or
Itera.
whatever.
Three formats.
Which one are we using?
We're using the,
Motorola.
it's neither.
Connect system.
Well, I was looking at,
It's the digital mobile radio, it's a generic one, apparently.
but even in your write-up up there, you've got both formats. It was in the,
Yeah.
thing that, Wally sent out. But I'm gonna go get an off-brand radio, like a Kenwood or something like that, if I can.
I think Scott now, the radio that John and Janice have got, Scott took the Motorola's and he did, I think he's done something to the Motorola to get them on that. I think they're capable of what he did with the Motorola, I don't know. But it's digital and it's generic and it's not proprietary to anybody. So,
Hey, Keith?
yes,
I just wanted to add, you know, that this is interesting in terms of the hobby itself, because the old analog repeaters with the advent of cell phones have pretty much become inactive. You know, we got this 440 machine out here that has the Eastern North Carolina Repeater Association. There's no traffic on it whatsoever. I mean, it's just absolutely dead. Whereas the traffic overall on the DMR repeaters is pretty substantial, and you only need a technician's class license to talk worldwide. So this is a wonderful introduction, I think, to new people to the hobby that ultimately will expand into other areas. So, you know, there's a lot of people that think that this is the rejuvenation
Right.
of the hobby in large measure. It's really cool.
yeah. The other thing I have heard, I've not tried it yet, is that on the local repeater, you can text, you ask, well, why do you, the radios are kind of set up like a cell phone. You got a whole list of contacts in them. In it, you got certain channels there's the capability to send a text to a single individual locally, is what I've heard,
Yeah.
not network-wide. And that's the reason to have, why would you want 35,000 contacts in there, or say everybody in this room, you had all your contact in your radio. It's so that I might want to send a text message or hit it and call David individually. And there's also, I read somewhere, and it's gone, I don't know where it's at now, but that you could go in and somehow pull up Dave and see if his radio's even on, to try to get it. So, yes, sir.
Mike, help me on this. These are these are networked through the internet?
Yes,
So they're not stuff, the internet goes down, you only got local.
correct. We
That's
got,
when you go to the real number.
we have local digital, and because the radios are analog, we still have local analog.
Well, isn't there a way though, if repeaters are within range of each other, you could use that second channel to link the repeaters together?
Good.
To a certain extent,
You're,
right?
you're
So
beyond me.
I don't think it's 100% internet dependent, I think there's that.
Yeah,
That's when you go to HF.
you could, I think there's been some conversation of doing it on, through the Wi-Fi, connecting, but I don't know how far that would go. Yeah, John?
I think it says somewhere in there, don't text
On the network,
on the network.
right. But local, I don't think the network is even set up to accept a text.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Locally though, I don't know if our repeater is set up to accept it locally, it may be there. It's not been checked.
That I don't.
But that's a completely separate, when you flip over to local, you're just footprinting the repeater, just like Bob's, that's it.
What was ID before it was real text message? You had the ID in the text message or?
I don't know,
That's not weird.
I don't know. Somebody try it. Any other questions on, the radios are going, yes, sir?
I'm from the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, and they're going D-Star down there. I'm wondering with all these proprietary systems that are coming in, this is time division multiple access, isn't it? That's what this.
Yeah.
And then I just came back from Austria, and in Vienna, they had a digital system out there, because I didn't have a radio. I still used analog. I'm just wondering about all these different systems. D-Star doesn't cross over into?
Not yet, but there are talk about several a couple of the radio manufacturers, Connect Systems, and there's another one, I think Lee even got one.
I agree with Pete, I know Pete, and, this might bring to life, because I drove from, Kansas all the way to Rio Grande Valley. It was like 1,000 miles, and I used repeater book every time I went into an area to find it. I had one contact in Kansas, and I had one contact in Brownsville, Texas. Nothing in between.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the way it is. They're dead. They're there. You can key them up. Maybe once in a while you might be able to get contact on all, but for the most part, there's no activity on. Maybe this is the way, Pete. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it appears that DMR is the functionality that is emerging. The problem with D-Star and the others is they're proprietary. There's only one. You got to go to Yaesu to buy the damn $400 radio.
ICOM for D-Star.
Yeah, whatever. So DMR appears to be emerging. We got a lot of North Carolina is basically covered at this point by DMR repeaters.
Yeah, and as I said, there are some manufacturers looking to make the radio to work in the D-Star network and also the Yaesu.
Yeah.
But Motorola and probably Motorola too.
The disadvantage being that the Motorola DMR system is not a ham radio system. It is a commercial system that we have adapted for ham radio use. So I guess there are some limitations in that sense, but hell, it works good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith, because I didn't know anything about this at all until I came to the meeting, so I learned a lot. Thank you.
Well,
We're learning.
Scott did a lot. This is all a lot of just hands-on. As I said, it's all I know at this point in time, and all the other people know. So it's something. I think it's good. It's another tool in the toolbox, so they say.
That hurt me. When the commercial was having to go narrowband, going from 25 KC channels to 12 and a half, all the other manufacturers went frequency division multiplex. Motorola went time. Cell phones started off as time and went to frequency.
Yeah.
Like I say, Motorola always has to do it different.
Yeah.
And I've used the equipment, and I don't like it. The other thing is stacing is a possibility. I've got the antennas, I've got the side mount, I got the permission, I got the feed line, I just need the motivation.
Well, maybe we'll help you with that, Art.
Yeah.
We can contribute something.
Call me and ask me when I'm gonna do it.
Let's see if you get a straight answer, right?
But I don't mind working on weekends, so,
All right.
so, and we kinda need to get that done before hurricane season. Oh, we got 3
You
days.
mean like tomorrow?
Tomorrow, beginning of the first storm.
The thing you're talking about with, the numbers is very much like IP addresses. And, that's, if you think about it like an IP
Yeah.
address, it'll make more sense.
You gotta think different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other side of this, I was talking to some folks up in the mountains, and the other side of this coin is that with DMR you can the DMR repeaters are so cheap that you can sacrifice height for number of repeaters. You can get in there, you can put a low power repeater cheaply into a valley or something coverage, whereas otherwise you might have to find a 2,000-foot tower to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like cell phones, isn't it? The same basic pattern. Low power.
And it's not a in all, we're all, because just like it says, internet goes down, it's local, only way to get out is HF.
Yeah, but that can happen. That can happen with anything.
So, but it's, it makes it where you can go over and talk to somebody in Jackson, Oslo County, talk to somebody in Pamlico County, which before the repeaters had to be linked. And, each repeaters are now in the VHF and UHF tend to be for a particular area. And it's just another tool. Just another tool. Yes, sir.
This is not directly, but it's related. About a year ago, there were a couple of articles in QST about reprogramming Wi-Fi hotspots into the ham segments of the 5 and 10 gigahertz band. Now, by law, the ones that are on the shelf over at Best Buy are limited to something like 300 feet from the area where they are. And of course, obviously, they're all unlicensed Part 15 devices. But once we put these things on ham frequencies, all of a sudden, you should be able to stick them up on nothing outlandish, but extend the range of these things to 2 or 3 miles, and that provides a separate and alternate linking to these things. As the internet goes down, you've got these things that can take over.
And that's being done. We looked at it here. Bob's got some things we had tested before. And
I know I'm jockeying them lately, but I got so many other things I'm doing over the years. But,
I understand.
Between my language and everything else. I just thought of that. That was in a QST article about a year ago.
Okay. Radios are around. Yes, sir.
There was an article in QST that explained the difference on the different D-Star and D-Mark and all that about, I'm going to say a year or two ago.
Yeah. I think
it was a pretty good article.
A lot of information out there, and I encourage.
Explain interoperability and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It looked like there was 1 or 2 radios at the time that would do it, but they're kind of expensive.
Yeah. Wally, you had something?
Right. Echo test doesn't always work. I was up in Garner last week. I couldn't get Raleigh to echo test, but Carrie did. A couple of days ago when I was coming up to the coast from Benson, I was trying to do an echo test in Swansboro, and I heard Robert McNeil doing an echo test.
Oh.
And Pete says he was up in Virginia.
Yeah.
So the echo test may depend on the time slot being available, since there's only 2 time slots. And I've live streamed this on Facebook, and I'll put it up on YouTube, and I'll send everybody a link to it.
Okay.
And also, you have the ability to program your individual repeater, so you may or may not program echo test into your repeater. You may or may not put PRN into your, so it's, you know, it's configurable on a local basis.
But it showed up in the zone.
Now radio's around somewhere.
I got you, yeah.
I better have it. Nobody get out. That's all I have with my radio.
In eastern coast of North Carolina, this is the way to go with PRN and everything else, because all the way up the coast, we have lots and lots and lots of repeaters, all up and ready and working. We went up to Area 1 and 2 meeting that they had several weeks ago, and they were all, they all had the radios in their hands. On the way up from Stella in the western part of Carteret County, we spoke to a few people on all the way up. Oh, we're glad you're coming to the meeting. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
They were all up and down the coast. They were also in West Virginia, South Carolina. I've talked to Tennessee and the west coast of North Carolina. This whole area is saturated, as you did say, Keith, with these networks already willing and able to go. The other ways of doing things is going on, the other things that you mentioned, but if you want to talk all the way up and down the coast, this is the way to go. Everybody's linked up, and hopefully they're on the radio when you call them, but it's really, really wonderful. And I think a wonderful way of getting younger people, not kids per se, but younger people into amateur radios through this network, because they're going to love it. And, you know, you talk on this kind of a radio instead of a big radio or whatever. I think they'll understand this a whole lot better too. At least get them in a start into amateur radio.
John, you're first.
Yeah, I'm gonna work all states.
Okay. All right? Yes, sir.
Is there a way to access this via digital devices like Echo?
There is. I think you can listen on the PRN. I think I've seen it, but I didn't go into it.
What willing to work off this thing? It would be great.
Yeah.
Off the cell phone, but
Right.
I'm just curious if you can access PRN that way.
I think so. I think you can listen, because there was a couple spots I saw would listen to. I don't know if it was under DMR, MARC, or the PRN. One thing that is different, that's a little bit, you know, when we're on the VHF, like Bob's repeater or Pete and Joe's repeater, you know, they are the ones that allow us to use it, and they can turn it on and off. When we're on the PRN network, they have a control group that they can turn us on and off. So it's you got to realize it's not like a wide open area. It is you know, you're contacting many more different people, so you now have to be more like HF. You got to be more courteous, and to tie it up, you're tying up preventing many more people from using the network, and that's something to be conscious of when you're carrying on the conversation. Now, I always like to try to say, because Lee's a talker, he'll talk a lot. When we pick him up on PRN, we flip over to local, because then we're not messing up, we're not tying up the PRN network. And so keep that in mind.
Also, don't throw your analog radios away just for that reason, or at least not yet.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right.
But the TYT also has analog, but it's only UHF.
Oh, yeah. That's all I have. Any members got an announcement they want to make or anything?
Just FYI, right now, Macon, Georgia's on the radio.
Okay. Anybody, health and welfare of our members? Anybody, John?
I heard Robert talk, I talked to him yesterday about Charlie Brown. I guess he's coming along pretty good.
Okay, good.
KK4ZAP, KM4APN.
Sorry.
Ken Ball out the other
Is that
day.
yours?
He's staying pretty close to home with his wife, but he's still active. He's the one that gave Sterling the good comment. Sterling, thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
way. All right.
Be ready just in case we may have flooding.
Yeah.
Watch out for your neighbors, watch out for people who aren't able to take care of themselves, especially.
Yeah.
Especially down east, Mike's. We
Yeah.
love you guys, if you need anything, give us a holler.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
We got.
This concludes the
That really does
presentation.
it.